right, we'll get started. Thank you for being with us during this holiday week. Appreciate you joining us for our virtual town hall that we've been conducting since March, which is a forum for sharing economic ideas amidst a pandemic. So thanks for being with us today, and welcome to all of you. My name is Tim Hines. I'm the Executive Director of the University Economic Development Association. And for those of you not familiar with UEDA, we are a group of an organization association that connects our members, which include higher education institutions, private sector businesses, and economic development organizations. So we like to say higher education and their allies. We connect those folks to resources that help facilitate economic growth within their communities, and this town hall series is one of those resources. Our members represent those who are on the cutting edge of modern economic development, as our economy has evolved into an entity that behaves much differently than our predecessors and is constantly evolving, as we've seen over the last few months. It's important to have these conversations that never before has academia, the private sector, and economic development stakeholders been so critical to and reliant on one another to create that economic opportunity. And our members work to expand that economic opportunity within their communities and regions by leveraging talent, innovation, and place, and recognizing that there's an interconnectedness of each of those elements. So if you'd like to learn more about our organization, about the University Economic Development Association, about what we do and who we are, you can reach out to me via our website, which is universityeda.org. So with that, we'll start with the agenda today. We're going to have a spotlight presentation, and these time estimates are very, very rough. Typically, we've spent most of the time highlighting these best practices, and it's a great conversation. As we have time towards the end of our conversation today, we will have an open forum. So how this works is for the Q&A for our spotlight presentation, if you wouldn't mind, use that Q&A panel that's at the bottom of the Zoom that we've all been so familiar with over the past few months. Use that Q&A panel to ask any questions of our panelists today. If you do have any interest in asking a question globally to our audience, it might be an issue that you're trying to address or something of that nature. We'll have some time towards the end, maybe about the last 15 minutes, for an open forum for you to ask a question to the greater audience. So for that presentation, we'll want to ask you to unmute your mic, and I'll make you actually elevate you up to a panelist. So for that, use the raise your hand function. So I'll prompt you as we continue, but the thing you need to know about right now is that Q&A panel is really where, if you have questions as our presenters talk today, use that Q&A function to ask your questions. So with that, I'll introduce our panel today. We have Shannon Blevins. Shannon leads the economic, community, and public health outreach efforts for University of Virginia-Wise. In doing so, she works to create opportunities for government, nonprofit organizations, businesses, and higher education to work together to further the progress of the region in which the college is located. She holds a master's in business management and organizational development from Everett University, a BA in business and public administration from the University of Virginia College at Wise, and a certificate in leadership development through Darden Executive Education. She's also completed the management leadership program through Harvard's Graduate School of Education. We also have Josh Sawyers here with us. Josh is responsible for the extracurricular entrepreneurial program offered at UVAWise, as well as the day-to-day operations for the UVAWise Innovation Centers, including the NEST and the Oxbow Center for Innovation and Technology. He also helps to grow the entrepreneurial ecosystem of Southwest Virginia by facilitating Opportunity SWVA, the region's entrepreneurial support organization. Josh earned a BS in business management and sports management from Virginia Intermont College. And we have two other folks with us today as well. We have Becky O'Quinn. Becky's a native of Russell County, Virginia, and a graduate of Lebanon High School. She attended University of Virginia's College at Wise and graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Business and Public Administration. Having lived in Pike County, Kentucky, Becky is also a graduate of the East Kentucky Leadership Program, Pike County Leadership Program, and the Hatfield-McCoy Conflict Management and Negotiation. Becky also completed the Kentucky Institute of Economic Development, Business Retention and Expansion, and Rural Marketing Strategies courses. Becky's been with the Office of Economic Development and Strategic Initiatives for the past 8 years. at UVAWise. And during that time, Becky served as the director of Southwest Virginia Technology Development Center, and for the past 5 years held the role of program director of community and economic development. In her role, Becky works to support the local community leaders and economic development organizations. Becky manages the Rally SWVA program, which serves to strengthen leadership capacity in communities. She also manages the Southwestern Virginia RISE Emerging Leadership Program, which was piloted in 2019. She works with local economic developers and businesses with Opportunity Zone technical assistance support. And for the past 5 years, Becky has also served as project manager for the Southwestern Virginia Economic Forum. And last, but certainly not least, we have Kaylin Hunter. Kaylin serves as the program director for Go Virginia Region 1. In this role, she collaborates with state and regional stakeholders to diversify and strengthen the economy in Southwest Virginia. Kaylin has earned a BA in Technical and Professional Communications, along with an MBA from King University. So with that, I'll turn it over to Shannon for today's program.
Great, thank you so much, Tim. I'm going to share my screen, and let's see here. Do I have access to share my screen, Tim?
You should. Give me 1 second here. I thought you did. Unless that changed, I can go through. Why don't I go through the slides for you then?
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's no problem whatsoever. Well, it's a pleasure to be with everyone this afternoon, and we really appreciate the opportunity for UEDA to provide us the chance to talk a little bit about some of the initiatives that are underway in our region. Before I introduce my team and some of the projects that they're going to be working on, I thought it would be good for us to just talk about an overview of what we do, as well as the, the context in which we work here in our region of Virginia. And so if you'll go to the next slide, Tim, that would be good. So UVAWise is a small liberal arts college, and we've always been a division of the University of Virginia, which we work very closely with that group and our other sister higher education institutions across Virginia. And UVAWise in particular, our Office of Economic Development was launched in 2007. And the slide in front of you really just talks about the divisions of the work that we do. It falls in line very closely to the UEDA framework as well. So we began in 2007, and the categories of our work fall into these three divisions. We do professional development and career development. So we have an off-campus site, and our Abingdon team actually manages customized and open enrollment programs. And then they work very closely with our career discovery and planning office, which manages a wide variety of career development pieces for our students, but also manages our UVAWise Works program, which is an internship program. In another division of our office is our health and health-related prosperity. That group actually houses that Healthy Appalachia Institute and the Appalachian TeleMental Health Network. And Appalachian TeleMental Health is doing some really neat work right now. We are actually building a network for telemental health supporting the Appalachian regional counties of Virginia. And then we'll spend most of our time in the other speakers talking about what we're doing in community and economic development, specifically around the programs that we have either launched or enhanced since mid-March, since the onset of the global pandemic. But one of the things I think it's important to look at is where we are located. So next slide, Tim. So we are centrally located in the Appalachian region, kind of what we like to call the state of the arc. And it is a strategic location for us. Next slide, Tim, will kind of give a little bit of an overview as it relates to where we are located on the East Coast. And we are central in that Appalachian region, which is often called Central Appalachia. You can see the little green arrow points to Wise County. This region really has a lot of unique characteristics, but we also have some challenges related to health, education, and economic metrics. However, there's so many things that are positive going on in this entire region that I do believe get overshadowed at times with just some of the negative metrics that the region hosts in that economic, health, and education. So some of the things that we do really highlight those positive things and try to build upon the potential that the region truly has. We encourage people to look beyond the numbers and to see the tremendous potential which exists in our home region. Now we've been working with constituents all across our specific region of Virginia in ways, and we serve for our area as a neutral convener or a unbiased facilitator, and bringing people into the room, encouraging communication, encouraging these bright minds that are in the room coming up with solutions to some of the challenges that we face. And we've done a few unique things since the onset of COVID-19 in mid-March. So that's what we're going to really spend some time today. We have dozens of projects underway, but we selected 3 for our next speakers to dive into, to talk about what they're doing to bring some of our communities together, to bring higher education, our students together, as well as some of our community leaders and businesses. So in the order that these next folks will present, next slide please, Tim. We will have Kaylin up first, who will talk about Go Virginia, which is a statewide program, but we manage our region's efforts for Go Virginia, an economic development program of the state. And then Josh will talk about what we're actually doing to bring together businesses. And then Becky will talk about the rally programs, what we're doing to help build leadership capacity, which is so critical in our rural regions. And so I think I will turn it over to Kaylin. Next slide, please, Tim.
All right, thank you, Shannon, and thank you all for having us today. I will be highlighting the Go Virginia Region 1 Southwest Virginia Talent Mobilization and Small Business Retooling Initiative. So here we have a little outline of how this initiative took place, and I'll walk you through each step. So in March, our world was shaken by the COVID-19 pandemic, and our team began discussing the fact that students in the region would likely lose their internship opportunities they had lined up that summer due to the stay-at-home orders and social distancing practices that were beginning to take place. At the same time, we were also discussing how the measures would directly impact the financial stability of the small businesses in our region. With these 2 things in mind, we came up with a strategy that would help students in our region have a summer internship opportunity while also directly assisting businesses with their online presence at no cost. So the light bulb goes off, and then comes the birth of the Southwest Virginia Talent Mobilization and Small Business Retooling Initiative. Once the name of the initiative was solidified, we then acknowledged that students would have experience in web development, social media marketing, content creation, project management, marketing, and communications in order to meet the online and digital platform needs of the small businesses in our region. Then came the funding. How would we fund this program? So to get this project off the ground, we were able to utilize our fiscal year 2020 capacity building funds. In short, these are what we refer to as our Go Virginia Region 1 administrative funds. We have budgeted what we could, and we could have up to 15 internship opportunities for students and up to 7 faculty mentors if needed. Each student intern will be compensated $3,000 for their work, and this would be based upon meeting project deliverables and meeting the needs of the small businesses. Each faculty mentor will be compensated $1,500 and will be responsible for mentoring 2 to 3 students over the life of the program. This initiative would come at no cost to our small businesses, as most have taken a financial hit during the pandemic. We also had to take an accelerated route for this program, and this program is running from July 1st through the first week of August. Once we nailed down how we would pay for the initiative, we then jumped over to developing the bits and pieces of the program. So prior to COVID, we had 1 full-time staff and 2 part-time staff fully supporting Go Virginia activities. For capacity purposes, we staffed 1 part-time position through August to serve as the program coordinator for this initiative. The program coordinator developed the student, faculty, and small business applications and then collaborated with the career services departments at the higher education institutions in Region 1. The program coordinator continues to focus his time on program activities and serves as the liaison for the small businesses and the faculty mentors. As I previously stated, students would have experience in web development, social media marketing, content creation, project management, marketing, and communications. Student interns are expected to complete 15 to 20 hours per week, and they are communicating with the small businesses to identify the best online platform for their business, whether that be a social media channel like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and more, or a simple website. As we know, oftentimes small businesses have the challenge of capacity, so we want to ensure that we're doing what's most beneficial for the business once the platform is created or enhanced, and make the handoff to our businesses as seamless as possible. The faculty participating in the program are serving as mentors to the student interns. They are also assisting our program coordinator with measuring deliverables, such as number of websites enhanced or created and the number of social media handles created or enhanced as well. We worked with our local chambers of commerce, localities, elected officials, economic developers, and planning district commissions to market this program to our small businesses. We utilized our Go Virginia Region 1 website along with our Facebook page to get the message out as well. In order to ensure the small businesses have the skills they need to manage the online platform and content, we are also hosting 2 trainings at the end of July at no charge to our small businesses. As for regional collaboration, we worked with our higher education institutions in our 13 county and 3 city footprint. And within this footprint, we have a total of 7 higher education institutions, with 4 of these being community colleges and 3 of these being 4-year institutions. The career services departments at each institution were critical components. They assisted with pushing the internship opportunity out to students, and they also assisted with pushing the faculty mentor opportunity to qualified faculty and staff. While UVAWise serves as the support organization for Go Virginia Region 1, we do work hand in hand with our regional council. We currently have 22 regional council members from private sector industries, economic development sector, planning district commissions, school divisions, community colleges, and public institutions of higher education. It is a requirement that a majority of the regional council members be from the private sector and have a demonstrated significant private sector business experience. With this experience of our council, we pulled together a student review committee for this program. 3 of the Go Virginia Region 1 council members served on this committee and provided a thorough review of each student application that was received. We received a total of 18 student applications, and the student review committee selected a total of 11 students for this internship opportunity. We received 4 mentor applications, which was the perfect number to pair our 11 interns. And we have had a total of 18 business applications as of today, and we will continue to accept these small business applications through July 13th. The kickoff for the Southwest Virginia Talent Mobilization and Small Business Retooling Initiative was actually held yesterday, and we have been able to get the students through the hiring process, and they are now being paired with their small businesses and faculty mentors. This has been very exciting as it's given our Region 1 team the opportunity to work with the next generation of talent, and we are excited to see the outcomes of this program and how it positively impacts our small businesses in Southwest Virginia. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Becky O'Quinn. Thank you all.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the Raleigh Southwest Virginia Leadership Program. Rally Southwest Virginia is a leadership capacity building program that's been around since about 2015. It supports strengthening community leaders and community groups and identifying emerging leaders. The acronym for Rally is Real Action Leadership Learning. And we go into communities and work alongside those communities for about 6 months. Initially, we serve as the facilitator in project ideation and consensus building to help the community come to a project idea. Once that has been established, the community actually appoints a project leader from within, and our role transitions into coaching and mentoring the project lead, as well as providing leadership training to the entire group during that 6 months. In the past, we have completed over 25 leadership trainings and 25 Rally projects. Some examples of those projects have been wayfinding signage, community information to kiosk or kiosk for tourists coming through to the community, outdoor theater projects, or some town murals. And at the end of the project, the Y for Rally actually stands for yay, because we want each community to celebrate that they have completed the project, but we also want to bring the community in and be involved in that celebration. So Rally is a program of Opportunities Southwest Virginia, and it works with several local and state partners. And in Josh's presentation, he's going to discuss who those state partners are. This year's funding for Rally was actually funded through the Appalachia Regional Commission. In the past years, we've been funded through entities such as Virginia Tourism, Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development, and a local foundation, the Thompson Charitable Foundation. So at the onset of COVID and the governor's stay-at-home order, we identified that our local Rally leaders and community leaders were finding themselves in a very unfamiliar crisis. While some communities had crisis plans in place or disaster recovery plans in place, none of those plans really addressed what to do during a pandemic. The leaders were facing challenges such as managing virtual teams from home now, how to equip essential leaders, assisting small businesses and entrepreneurs that were having to shutter their businesses for a while, and how to communicate out to the public virtually and other means besides just public means. We adjusted our Rally at that time to begin to convene virtually as well, and we invited all community leaders to be a part of that virtual convening. We provided a central point of communication during this time so that the community leaders and our state partners, our local partners, could come together to discuss challenges and also talk about ideas that were coming out of this pandemic. Of course, initially, we were very heavily involved with the Small Business Association and the Small Business Development Center, who met with us weekly and talked to the community leaders about the changes in the PPP and EIDL and all the information that was needed to be able to relay that to the small businesses in their communities. Each week we would ask the community leaders what information they needed or what resources they would like to see in the meetings. And with that, we also, in response, had the Virginia Department of Health present. The governor's office also was a part of the calls, and the small business, Virginia Tourism, all came on board each week to report out, provide updates, but also collectively answer the community leaders' questions so that everybody could hear those questions and hear the answers together. We also invited our neighboring state partners or state entities. So North Carolina came on board one week and discussed what they were doing, how they were transitioning, as well as Kentucky. We are still meeting weekly. Currently, a lot of our discussions relate to the reopening or the liability of holding public events and how the communities are transitioning to reopening and having larger events. Many of our communities have had to cancel festivals, public events, or local events, and such as their local pools. And those are revenue generation tools for the communities. So while these public events are canceled, the communities are suffering from the loss of meal taxes, lodging taxes, and other revenue generators that you would see from the community coming out or from tourists coming in. This creates a domino effect in the local government from revenue, because then they in turn cannot fund as much for local communities or downtowns or main streets. In response to that, Rally is working with the region to help develop a region-wide celebration of small businesses. The celebration will be coordinated to help spark the re-engagement of the community with the small businesses while showcasing what's the best of our region together. And we'll be connected throughout Southwest Virginia. We're currently evaluating the best time for us to actually do that, looking at the COVID cases and when the best time would be. But we want to make sure, as the convener for the local communities, that we play a strong role in helping do that and showcase those small businesses in the communities and help them re-engage and start to see success again. And now I'll turn it over to Josh.
Thank you, Becky, for that. As Becky mentioned, the Rally program is an umbrella piece of our Opportunities Southwest Virginia, or SWVA program that we have. So what is Opportunities Southwest Virginia? It's an organization, a coalition of up to 26 support organizations for entrepreneurship and community development that was formed back in 2012 that's really looking to advance the small business and entrepreneurial mindset of Southwest Virginia. We serve up to a 17 county footprint in Virginia, and we're really focused on finding these emerging entrepreneurs and also helping our Main Street businesses grow. Through these collaborative partnerships, Opportunity Southwest Virginia has launched many initiatives. With these initiatives, we've been able to do such things as local business challenges. We did local for each town, and then we did a final best of the best winners that was able to do a regional business pitch competition through this. We also did, back in 2018, a crowdsource funding for some of our businesses, just to see how we would be able to loan out money through a crowdsource platform, Kiva, to get that type of money into the hands of very young emerging businesses. And also, as Becky just mentioned, our Rally program, the great work that they're able to do through this. But the one initiative that I want to talk about is our Southwest Virginia SWVA Tuesday 2 p.m. grind. So I wish I was here to tell you how easy it was. It was just a single cup of coffee, and we were able to solve our relief effort, our response, and our recovery for that. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, but we will be able to talk about how a simple act of getting together over a cup of coffee at 2 p.m. every Tuesday was able to really be an impactful program for our area. We really kind of decided this early March, when everybody was sent home. Many of our businesses were forced to shut down by mandates and just were not able to work there. So much information was coming out at that time, and they just really didn't have a place for that information to be aggregated. And that's where we wanted to kind of fill in the gap. I don't know if you're like me, but usually around 2 p.m. in the evening, I need that second or third cup of coffee for the day to get me recharged. So we wanted to get our entrepreneurs, our small businesses, and our support organizations all together to be able to discuss this. And on our first meeting, it was a very loose agenda that we had. We just wanted our small businesses to be able to come on and let us know what issues that they are facing. We found out that a lot of them were in shock. They just really, at that point were just scrambling so much to try to keep their businesses open, to maintain their employees, or to pivot their line of business just to be able to keep going. So what we were able to do was really gather out all that information out there, whether it was the SBA emergency loan that was going on, the PPP program, and really bring that in to get our businesses ready to apply for that. And then just ask them, what gaps are out there? Where would you need help on that? And just also to be able to discuss relevant trends that were coming about. One topic that we really covered that some of our businesses, both in retail and restaurants, hadn't really done too much in our region was contactless checkout. So through vendors like Square or their local credit card processing, they were able to bring in more contactless checkout options and also go online for some checkouts, even to pick up locally. And I guess the biggest thing that we did during this time was we just opened the floor up to our businesses to allow them to vent, just to get what was on their shoulders off and to discuss this and really move into that next stage. Through that, we were able to craft our response. After hearing some of the discussions, we saw that e-commerce was a big gap for our region, whether it was shipping outside of the region or just locally to where a local customer could place the order and come pick that up. So development through UVAWise and also some of our local partners, we were able to put together workshops around e-commerce, around best practices for shipping those. Once you get an order in there. Also, there was programming around the PPP program itself. The first round, very few of our small businesses were able to get in there for that funding. A lot of that had to do with maybe their bookkeeping wasn't in place. We were lucky to have Intuit has a presence in our region. So they were able to put together workshops on bookkeeping to make sure that they had the information and the relationship at their local bank when that second round of PPP came out that they could actually apply for and receive that funding. Once that second round started to come out and the funding was available, we kind of considered that we was in a response area. The businesses felt like they were getting the relief and the funding opportunities, but our region actually stepped up very, very big as well. Many of our IDAs were able to develop a local fund for that. We were lucky enough to be able to partner with both Southwest Virginia and Northeast Tennessee for a Region Ahead fund. Southwest Virginia businesses did very well in that, and were able to get a lot of funding to come and help them during this challenging time. Also during this, the state was developing their reopening plan, and we were able to connect with them and share the information that we were hearing with our local businesses about the guidelines that they need. So we were able to develop information that helped our phase 1, 2, and 3 reopening. Now we've entered the recovery phase. So I'm a big sports fan. I look at this as we're entering the second half. And us as a region, we've been able to make some second half adjustments now moving forward that's going to make us more resilient. One of the pieces that we're doing at UVAWise is we have a REI program that was funded through Go Virginia that's studying our entrepreneurial ecosystem, to where we're looking at just the strengths of it and some of the weaknesses to be able to address those. And also we have another study that's going on for a regional acceleration program that we'll be able to take some high growth emerging companies and be able to run them through in a regional accelerator program. That's all I have, so I will turn it over to Tim for the Q&A session.
Thanks, I appreciate that, and we'll ask everyone to bring their videos back on board, and I'll throw your contact information up while we're doing that. Just a reminder, everyone, if you do have questions for the panel, please throw them into the Q&A function, and we'll get to those. The first one I have is relative to your position in Appalachia. I know that I've even seen locally here as, being in Pittsburgh and being part of that region on the northern side of it, at least, that we went into the pandemic with an epidemic in the opioid crisis. And I noticed that one of your key functions is health. So have you done anything relative or looked at anything relative to that crisis in particular, and how has that impacted your reaction to COVID in general?
Sure, I'll take that one. I think that we're very fortunate to have the Healthy Appalachia Institute as part of our Office of Economic Development, because you really can't separate, the connection related to having a healthy and educated workforce and how important that is for the economy. Healthy Appalachia Institute, as I mentioned earlier, has a key project that is in partnership with the University of Virginia. Which is opening up the telemental health telehealth network to provide mental services and behavioral services. And one of the things that we have seen that has come about with COVID-19 and the isolation that has been involved with the stay-at-home orders across the entire nation is that there's a lot of mental health crisis happening right now. People who were already struggling with those challenges, it only exacerbated those problems, and people just dealing with the uncertainty and the stress related with the fear of the pandemic, and then came the fear of the economic crisis, that was pending or following right behind the health crisis. And so we were very fortunate in that we turned on the network for the Appalachian TeleMental Health services in December. So we facilitated the seeing of our very first patient in December. And we had an over 600% increase come mid to late March in the access to the telemental health services. So we were, this was a new project for us. We just launched it back in the development back in February of last year. So facilitated the first patient in December, just in time for the crisis to hit. So in rural areas, access to psychiatric treatment and behavioral services is can be scarce. And that was the reason why the Telemental Health Network was actually formed, and it happened to be turned on just in time to help with the behavioral challenges, the mental health challenges that were spawned by COVID-19.
Great. Now, the fact that you all are also a liberal arts in my videos lagging, so I'm gonna turn it off so it isn't distracting. But as a liberal arts institution, I think many of our reach is definitely within more of the tier 1 research. So it's impressive to see what you all have done as a liberal arts institution. Can you describe a little bit about non-COVID, what the doorway to your institution looks like? How do community members and those sorts of folks, businesses, how do they generally find the right resource within the institution, and what does that look like on a normal level?
Okay, I think you were breaking up just a little bit, so I think I'll restate your question to make sure that it is the what you intended. So under normal circumstances, how do people and constituents in our area find resources at UVAWise? Was that the question, Tim?
That was, yes, thanks.
Okay, all right. So, we have a network of partners, and Josh mentioned just one of the coalitions we pulled together that supports innovation and entrepreneurship. And so we have worked for the last decade to ensure that the relationships of all of those constituents or all of those stakeholders was very strong, and that we know what each other is doing. So there's several ways that people in our region kind of can come to the college. Part of it is by having the relationships with those partners of ours that know what we're doing, and they'll make referrals. Other ways is that we are always out there in our community. In fact, the miles that we put on traveling, not just here in the southwestern part of Virginia, which our region is really around 13 counties, the footprint of Go Virginia, 13 counties, which covers 3 planning districts, and but we travel across the state. And so we pride ourselves on having as much face-to-face time as we can in building those relationships with our partners and keeping them informed on what we're doing. Our mode of operating will have to change just a little bit post-COVID when we all start kind of, hitting back to the office. So our travel has been diminished quite a bit, but we will find ways. We have been, as you've heard from Becky and from Josh, finding ways to build those relationships and continue those relationships virtually. The way to find us is we actually have our website for each one of these programs. So our Office of Economic Development website can link to all of the different programs that you heard about today. GovVirginia just launched a brand new website just yesterday, which is beautiful, and I think is very functional. And then Opportunities Southwest Virginia has a website as well. So there's multiple ways people can be able to connect to us and to our partners as well.
That's great. It's been pointed out, sort of tongue-in-cheek, that your broadband in southwestern Virginia appears to be better than mine in Pittsburgh. So can you comment on the opportunities and challenges that you've faced in your region relative to broadband access?
Well, I'll start and then I'll ask my fellow teammates to chime in from their perspective. This region started 15 years ago, actually, in building broadband resources. So for the last at least decade of investment in the area, we can say that we were one of the most wired regions across all of the U.S. Not many rural areas could say that, but that has aided us in landing some, high-tech companies that is their lifeline. And we have built a technology workforce over the last decade that we are seeing fruits of that companies are coming into the area to hire technology talent that can be done virtually. So they don't necessarily have to have their headquarters here or even a physical operations. We have hundreds of people who are working virtually for global corporations right here in this region. And it really allows them to be able to have a great job, standard of living, but enjoy all of the amenities that this region has to offer. I often say rural regions are not for everybody, but for some people, rural regions are just ideal. And if you can be able to do your work here in a region such as ours, it can be the perfect place. So that's my perspective. I'll pass over to maybe Kaylin talking about just, the access to broadband from the regional perspective and what the state is also doing.
Yes, thank you, Shannon. So from GovVirginia's perspective, we do have funding opportunities to fund projects that are related to broadband. While we don't have a broadband project currently in place, we do think that there's a lot of opportunities, specifically partnering with our planning district commissions. So we are in the process of having those conversations, and we're looking forward to see what can come of that. And then also we have joint subcommittee meetings, we have participants from the public, and then our regional council members also participate on those. And one of the conversations is a network of co-working spaces, which really utilizes the whole broadband concept. And my office and some of our other GovVirginia team, along with our other team here on this call today, our offices are actually at a co-working space called the Oxbow Center. And I think that's, Josh, if you want to elaborate just a little bit on the Oxbow Center and how that provides, great broadband coverage and area for us to utilize.
Sure. So as Kayla mentioned, co-working spaces in a rural environment is extremely important. I'm sitting here today in the Oxbow Center, and we have the capability of having 3 separate providers provide up to 10 gigabits of internet access here. So, that's fiber that's laid right in our back door. We can get to it. The trouble and the problem sometimes with the rural environment is that last mile. So some of the workers in the area just don't have the internet access at their house. So a co-working space like the Oxbow Center allows them to come in, connect to the internet, have a high-speed access to be able to go out and do work. So much of our work and our jobs right now, if you have a great internet connection and a laptop, you're able to do that. So that's what we've set up here with the Oxbow Center. And it's a great front door for many of of the programs that we have going on. Kaylin is here. Becky is here with her programs. We have the Regional State Park is here. So many supporting programs are actually operating out of this business. So now people actually know where to find us at a physical location.
Great. And Becky, can you talk a little bit about the scale up for Rally? So if you're having, for weekly calls you mentioned, did you already have those relationships in place? I know that a lot of folks are trying to transition and build resources on the fly as we kind of reacted to COVID. So was this something that you were already doing in some capacity and had those relationships already built with those businesses, or is this something that was just started on the fly?
No, this was something we already had those relationships in place through the years that we were doing Rally. We worked with the partners, so we had the relationship with them to go out and request that they come on board and help present or ask questions to the community. We're out in the community when we do Rally. We're actually physically there, meeting with the communities and going out in the communities. Our whole department is out and about with the communities quite frequently. So those relationships usually are already built. And then the neighboring states, we also already had some relationships with them of just communicating with them and talking about ideas and just getting updates from seeing what they were doing. So those partnerships have been long-term relationships that we've built throughout the years, and they're great partners to come on board anytime that we need them.
That's great. And Josh, one question that you mentioned that the largest challenge that you saw with businesses is with e-commerce. Do you see businesses shifting sort of their delivery and their mission more permanently to include e-commerce or omni-channel approach to selling products and services? Is this something? Is this going to be a sort of a renaissance in a sense for the businesses that you're working with?
The trends are definitely leading that way. I think what we discovered out of this was so many of our small businesses are already using a service like Square. And it's extremely easy to go from just swiping a card with Square to taking e-commerce on that piece. So right now I've been to 3 or 4 restaurants in the area. If you come into the restaurant, you pull up their webpage, their menus online, you check out through there, and the food is brought over to it. It's making their operations a little bit more lean, a little bit more efficient with that. So right now, I think the trend is in that way. We still have some time to see if it's sticking after the pandemic and everything is over. But I do see the adoption of this online platform and being able to check out through that is something that's going to be here for the near future.
So definitely a new normal of sense, and it could be a new innovative normal, which could be interesting to see how that transpires. We're gonna pivot slightly to our open forum section with about 10 minutes left. And if anyone has a question that they'd like to pose to the entire audience, I'm going to ask that you use the raise your hand function that is also in the Zoom panel. And we'll call on you and you can ask a question either of our panel or of everyone that's on the call to see if you have a question or an issue that you're trying to address within your own region. While we do that, I had a follow-up question too for Kaylin. Is the Go Virginia Internship Program that you described, is that virtual or is that going to be an in-person program?
So this is a virtual opportunity for students. We definitely do not want to risk, anyone passing COVID if they're come in contact with it. So this is strictly a virtual opportunity. And our students have been advised to, reach out to your business, see how they would prefer to communicate, whether that's a phone call, text message, email. So that's how we're guiding that program.
Okay. And what types of businesses are you seeing?
We've seen a lot of different things. So anywhere from a restaurant to an art gallery to a nonprofit. So we've had a wide variety. It's been really good.
And is it just within your service area, your county region? Yes.
So it's within our 13 county, 3 city footprint for Region 1. We have gotten some bites from Region 2 as we fall in there. Some of our localities overlap a little bit, but we have primarily gotten all of our applications from Region 1 businesses.
Okay, and Josh, how about you? What types of businesses are you seeing? Is it mostly restaurants?
Restaurants, retail, but we've actually helped some of our larger businesses. Some of our support call centers, have been able to join the call, and just a discussion around a large operation like that, and what are the best practices around PPE. What are some of the policies to have in place if this was to happen? Just some of the conversation that we were able to have around the table. So I mean, unfortunately, this has affected our smallest solo entrepreneurs all the way up to our largest businesses that we have in the region, and each of them have unique problems and challenges.
For sure. Yeah, and sounds like you're at least starting them on the right path to addressing a lot of those. So appreciate the work that you're doing for businesses within the region. I'm not seeing any open forum hands being raised at all. So I think that we can likely end there. I'll turn it over to you all. If anyone have any closing comments or something that we didn't hit on that you'd like to share, Shannon?
Thank you, Tim, and definitely thank Tim and UEDA for giving us the opportunity to share just a few things that we are doing across our broader region. Josh, Kaylin, and Becky certainly are well known in our area, very well respected. They are people to go to whenever our businesses and our economic development community and our community's leaders have questions working across the region. But we also work with very micro communities, some of them that may have only 300 people that live in the community. So we work from there all the way up to some larger communities that have 40 or 50,000 residents. So and all of them are unique, but some of them have just some of the same problems. And so I would encourage that anybody that may be on the call today, that anything that sounds interesting or you want to probe a little further, one of the last slides that we had contact information for each of our team members, and we would welcome any contact. We'd welcome you to email us with questions, and we will follow with you. We will pick your brain too, because we are always looking for ideas. We're always looking for new resources and new connections, and we certainly do not have it all figured out. We are just listening to the people in our area, whether they're business community leaders or citizens, and trying to figure out how to attack a gap, how to bring additional resources. So we are always eager to learn more. And so if you think that there's something we're missing, or a program that's out there that you think would fit very well with what we've talked about today, or fit in our rural area, we're open to those suggestions as well. So just extend that opportunity, Tim, for people to contact us with ideas and with questions.
That's great. No, I appreciate that, and that's what we're all about, is sharing those best practices and learning from each other. And one of the ways that we do that is through this virtual town hall, and another way that we do that is by some other online collaboration. So I'll share just some closing thoughts too around our COVID-19 discussion group that's on LinkedIn. There's practices and questions being posed in there. So if you're not active in that, please feel free to join that. You can search for UEDA COVID-19 and it'll come right up, and feel free to join that group and that discussion offline but online. And then we also, of course, have our digital summit coming up. Registration just launched today, and that's September 21st to 24th. We're going to have an opportunity to not only collaborate as regions and kind of have some guided conversations as regions and ecosystems, but also to learn from each other and other regions as part of that facilitated discussion for our digital summit. So that's coming up September 21st to 24th. Please register for that. It is now open, and we'll have more information coming out in later weeks about agenda and keynotes and other things. But I guarantee this is not going to be like a normal conference where you're sitting in front listening to some talking heads. We're all going to be engaged in it together and learning from each other. So really excited about this opportunity. So for Shannon, Josh, Kaylin, Becky, thank you all for being with us today. We appreciate you sharing UVAWise's story and what you're doing to impact and recover, and look forward to continuing to hear great things coming from you and your region. and welcome you to come back anytime to share what updates you have. And I'd like to thank the participants for being on the call today, for asking questions and engaging with us. And we'll look forward to having our next discussion and our next virtual town hall in 2 weeks on the 16th of July, and we'll take it from there. So in the meantime, stay safe and healthy, and thank you all for being with us.
Thank you, Tim. Bye.
Bye-bye.